I think we'll start and then people can join during the presentation. I'll let them in. Yeah.
Så vi bare...
Yeah, thank you for joining once again this morning. Today is gonna be Earthways who's gonna present most of their methodology, and then you'll be able to work with your cases in groups. So it's gonna be an exciting day. Today we have one of our colleagues in the room with us, and she's gonna help us with our case. And we also have another colleague joining us online. So that's from our team. Yeah. Anything else?
No, let's get the word over to Jeppe and Jesper.
Yeah.
Take it from here.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again. We're on the screen here. I'm sort of looking up on there's a larger screen in here, which is why I'm not looking directly. I thought maybe should we just do a very quick round just to say hi and check in. If you have a camera that works, maybe you would just turn it on briefly. You can turn it off again, but just a little wave and say, just to say hi where you are calling in from. I don't know how, I mean, I think we can say, we can start with saying hi. You guys have said hi, but there are also some people out there. I can see Baiba and Andra and Agne, at least on the screen here. Oh, and there's Yekaterina, of course.
Okay, so I can. Okay, so
Yeah.
hi, dear colleagues.
You're...
Am I mute? No, no. So hello, dear all. I'm waiting for today's start and interested in what we're going to figure out in the end of this session. So, hi.
Hi.
I am from Lithuania, from Vilnius, from Laimikis organization, which is Urban Games and Research Lab, and which works with public spaces and urban spaces and natural spaces in the cities from 2007, involving communities, local communities, and especially young children and youth to art-based activities and cultural activities in public spaces.
Good. Thank you. Anyone else? Bye-bye, Andra, Agne?
Yes, hi, nice to see you again. And yes, I am Baiba from Edward Veidenbaum's museum, and today I am working together with my dog. I'm sorry. And yeah, and we are a museum with quite big experience working with youngsters and kids.
What is the name of the dog?
Dog's name is Lapiña.
Yeah.
Lapiña, yeah. It's like a small leaf of the tree. So.
Hi, I'm Andra, and I'm Baiba's colleague, and I'm also happy to see you all.
We need some.
Agne, I think you're muted.
Present myself.
Yes.
I'm Liv. I'm a curator at Mark, calling in from Aarhus in Denmark today. And from January, I'll be a PhD student working on the topic of dangerous heritage rooted in our local pollution in Grænsted.
Thank you.
My name is Agne. I'm from Lithuania. I work for the Vilnius City Museum, in one of their departments, and I work as an educator, and I create some education activities that include sort of arts, culture, heritage, and engagement.
My name is Rikke. I was just told to stand up because I don't think that anybody can see me just here in the back. I'm a curator and PhD student here at Mark, working with co-creation, relationship between people and exhibitions, agency, museum as a third space, not a neutral space. So in that area.
And me and Mike can just quickly add that we were joined by Inga Surgente, that some of you know from Latvia, from our former projects together from the Latvian Museum organization. And today we're going to enjoy some of the Latvian chocolate that she brought us as a local delicious, I think. So yeah, local treat for us.
Too good for you.
So, yeah.
Yes. Oh, I didn't see that, but we'll definitely try that later. Okay, so thank you. So today we're going to build on the conversation we had last time, and we were presented with both some theory and I think verging also on some methods around co-creation. And today we will talk about some of the work that Jesper and I are doing with creating learning journeys for groups, organizations around nature connectedness. And we've also been working a lot with young people. The way that we've thought about this, the flow of today, is that we'll start out presenting a little bit of theory and then hopefully more methods. And then after this, we will switch to hearing the presentations, the different cases. And from there, we can start blending the specifics, the context of your case with some of the methods. And I will just share my screen. I have a presentation here, which, let's see, is coming up there. Do I need to do something else? Shall I make it larger? Is that?
Maybe you can.
Yeah, that's as large as it gets, I think. Oh, I need to start the presentation. There we go. Okay. So yeah, so we're meeting. This is just a front slide, really. Today's program is the first. We'll see. We've built a little bit of air time into the program, but for the first at least half hour, Jesper and I will present some of the background to what we're working with. Then we'll have the case presentations, and we've asked that the presentations are around 7 minutes. We know this is not very long, but at the same time, we have the breakout rooms afterwards to start building and fleshing out more of the details. And then afterwards, we'll go out into breakout rooms, and then we have a break. And then after this, we meet in the plenary, in the big room. And from here, hopefully, we'll have a cross-pollination, and we can talk about some of the issues, perhaps around using the methods. And then we can go into, afterwards, we'll go into groups in the different countries or cases to talk about how we take what we've learned into your specific case. And then we round off together. But to begin, really, we would like to start with giving a sort of high-level view of why working with stories and narratives are important in the material that was sent out. Anna Luisa created this overview of different kinds of narratives or stories around our work and around nature and the values that are embedded in these stories. And that's what we want to delve a little bit into here in the beginning of the day. And did you want to start out, Jesper?
Yes. Hello again. As you just said, I mean, part of the headline for today is working with narratives, and therefore we will just start to say a little about what we understand when we talk about storying or about narrative. Jeppe will go more into the more specific definition and the difference between story and narrative, but I'll just sort of use it, both of them in a more general way. So we think that, as said in this headline, to change the future, we must transform our way of thinking and our defining stories. I mean, of course, there's a lot of practical things, technological things, and so on we need to change in the physical reality. But I think, as we said before, I mean, we will never be able to change into a more sustainable way of living with only technological solutions if we do not change the way we think, if we do not change our defining stories, the way we relate to nature and each other, then it will not help us as we see it. And very often, I think it's also very important to understand that we are actually living by a story. I mean, the future is not something that simply happens. It is shaped by the way we think, imagine, and tell stories about the world and our place within it. And every society lives within a certain narrative that define what is meaningful, possible, and real. And these narratives are likely invisible architectures of belief guiding our collective choices and behaviors. I mean, now you are from Latvia and Lithuania, and I guess you can, in historical time, relate to that you have been living under a different narrative some years ago when you were part of the Soviet Union. So just trying to exemplify how different narratives are shaping our story or our present. So today, you could say, in a more general term, modern Western culture has long been guided by a story of human separation and mastery, shaping the world through reason, technology, and control. And this narrative has produced extraordinary innovation, but it has also fostered alienation from the earth, from community, and from the deeper web of life that sustains us. So, I mean, this story of separation and mastery, I mean, have been going on ever since the
Enlightenment.
The Enlightenment ages and so on, and really shaped all the way through history how we have related specifically to nature and how we have extracted and used nature. So to change the future then is to engage in the art of restoring the world. We must begin to ask, what stories do we actually live by? I mean, most people I'm sure don't even ever think about that we actually live by a story. And stories can be different. We could live by another story. And we must also ask which ones keep us bound to patterns of destruction. What are in our daily lives are actually sort of making us still feed into the destruction story, and which ones invite us to a different story, to regeneration, reciprocity, and care. So finally, if the current crises ecological, social, and spiritual, are symptoms of a broken story, then healing begins with imagination, by telling new stories, stories that speak of kinship, interdependence, and the sacredness of life. So we begin to transform not only our way of thinking, but the very reality we create together. So, and this is what we would like to dive into today, how these new stories, new narratives can help us transform also our way of being our way of acting, our way of interacting. Yeah.
Okay, so these stories, I mean, it's a bit like you perhaps, and you work in the cultural sector, so I'm sure this is not news to you, and you probably thought about this and worked with this in different ways. So perhaps this is a sort of a wrap up of we can create a frame to think about this together. And please do tell us already if you would like to hear about your work as well. One thing that is really important, I think, is that stories sometimes, this approach is like, it's a bit like the fish swimming in the water, and we don't necessarily, the fish doesn't necessarily understand that there's water around it because it's just there. And stories can be invisible to us, and it's only when we start pointing at them and really exploring them that we see and understand how they show up in our lives and how they shape our lives. So very quickly, I just want to take a story or a word or a concept that is storied for us, which we talk about a lot. Nature, what is it? It's by and large, it's a positive word. Being natural is something good. Being artificial in relation to nature is not quite so good. But what is nature actually? Because there are lots of cultures outside of, at least our culture here in Denmark. I have Inuit heritage, and my Inuit ancestors don't have a word for nature. They don't have a word for environment, because this is also a word that is separating human beings from the external world, because we have something called culture. And what we just want to quickly point to here in this story about nature, if we take the mainstream narrative that we've been talking about, that the world, the external world outside of us, is based on this Enlightenment story of being a clockwork, of being mechanistic. So if we want to know about nature, first we have to conceptualize it as something that is made up of course, it's made up of atoms and molecules and enzymes and stuff that interact and do things. But the way we think about it is as if it was a mechanism. It also puts nature as a resource. This means that it is something that it puts very much also a story on us as users of resources. So it's something that we can extract. It's something that we can mine. It is something that we can take into our productive systems and change around. And as a story of being something else than us, then nature is something that is outside. It is something that is in not necessarily opposition, but it's something different than culture. And the way that we know nature is by analysis or by decoding. So we can go into like thinking about how biogenetics, for example, I think is really for me at least a picture of how we try to analyze and pull apart nature to understand it, and then we can maybe reassemble it. And what we want to point out is that this regenerative paradigm, or whatever we want to call it, at least that's how Jesper and I see our work. We're working within a different story about nature, which is that nature is not a clockwork. It's alive, and it's a community of living beings, which means that whatever it is, the land, the trees, lakes, all of the features of a landscape is actually something that we are in relation to as if it was kin, as if it was a kind of extended family. And this, of course, puts us in a very different situation when we think about nature as other. It's actually something more like a distant cousin, maybe something like that.
And like it's kind of responsibility.
And it, of course, also puts responsibility on us and our roles. And this is also something we want to touch about. What does our story of nature mean for how we perceive ourselves? as human beings? What is our role here? Are we managers of a planet that is made up of resources, or are we just one node in a big community of living beings that is like extended family that gives us a completely different responsibility? And the way that we know nature in this perspective is simply through like how we would get to know other beings. We need to listen. We need to have a conversation and open up to the language, a language that we don't understand. Okay, so I hope this is clear. And now I'm going to delve in a little bit into how we work with making the invisible water of stories around us visible, how we work with making it show up in our lives. So first of all, because we use this word narrative, I wanted to just say a little bit about what narrative actually is. I mean, we can also talk more about it as storytelling. Perhaps that's easier. But narrative is more where a story is this telling of a sequence of events. Narrative is the structure and the perspective and the style of a story. And it frames what sort of actions are perceived as sensible. So if we live in a world of resources, I sometimes refer to this, a story I read by a guy called Derek Jensen, who talks about a lumberjack in Canada, who says, when I see a tree, I see money. So if you see money when you see a tree, the sensible action is to go and cut it down and make it into money, and then you get rich. But if you first see another living being, then that sort of action is a little bit more difficult. You can't just go and kill another being and turn it into money. That actually is outside of the frame of actions that is perceived as sensible. And we can go into, Jesper and I talked about how do we balance, giving some of the theory and some of the methods with actually talking about how you use this. And we sort of would like to try and emphasize more a conversation around how you use some of these methods. So we will make a little compendium where you can delve into more of this theory if you like. But basically narratives in a very top-down, high-level view is how we... Oh, there's someone coming into the room. Hi, Fabio. You're there somewhere out there. Welcome. We're just in the middle of the presentation, so I'm just going to continue with talking for a little while longer about stories, and then we're going to meet again in the breakup in the presentations. So narratives are ways of speaking and conceptualizing that becomes a sort of frame for how we structure how we experience the world. Okay. So one of the really amazing thinkers around this is a English philosopher called Mary Midgley. She has a really interesting story in herself. She was part of the generation of female philosophers coming out in the UK during the Second World War. She was very good friends with James Lovelock, if you know this guy who had the theory of Gaia. And she talks very much about, she calls them myths, but I think we can think about this as narratives or storytelling. And this is the point about the fish swimming in the water. So we can't not swim in water. We can't not live lives structured by storytelling. This is just something that happens. And if we ignore that, we are traveling inside of these stories, or these stories are structuring our reality, then we travel blindly inside the stories and visions of other people. So it makes it more difficult to know where we're going. And it is not just a academic exercise to look at these stories. It is actually depending how you think about it, it can also be a revolutionary action. It can at least change how you position yourself in the world. So there's a little bit here about how narratives frame the imagination. And this is stuff that is coming out of cognitive science, and George Lakoff, you may know of his work, who famously, he wrote a book called Don't Think of an Elephant. And it is back to this, what happens when you mention a word? It's already embedded within our understanding. So famously, I think it was during the Watergate scandal, if you remember, Nixon made this speech where he said, "I am not a crook."
Yeah.
And then what everyone remembered was just the word crook. So it was really self-defeating, because he made himself suspicious by flagging this word, because this word is hinged on a sort of web of understanding. So in this view, our whole mind and our cognitive structures are centered around what Lakoff calls frames. So if you say crook or elephant, it is connected with other concepts. So let's take the elephant. If we think about an elephant, it's embedded already within a structure of savanna, of trees, of migration, of size. All of these things are things that we connect with the word elephant. And why I think this is important, especially when we work with young people, and we'll talk more about this next time, is because it also frames who we are as teachers or as role models or as people who are trying to help learning happen. Because often what happens, at least with the young people we work with here in Denmark, is that they've been in school so long that when they go into a learning environment, they think about their whole cognitive frame around school or learning is very, I almost want to say destructive, but maybe it's not the right thing, but it's not, actually doesn't help learning, because learning is something that happens where you have a teacher who knows something, students are below the teachers, teachers are the ones who have knowledge in their heads that needs to go into the student. It takes place within a learning environment where we are sitting in rows and we're looking towards a blackboard or something like this. So there's also some work to do around how we think about learning. Anyway, so this is a little bit of background around narratives and stories and how to think about nature. What I want to end with here is that it really matters how we think and speak about whatever, but especially about nature. And we'll give a little bit more background to some of these theories, but some important questions here are really just to think about, what does nature actually mean? If we have a conversation with someone we don't know, are we actually talking about the same thing here? How does it position us in relation to nature? Are we these type of managers who extract resources, or are we part of a larger family or larger web of life? And how do we actually work actively with transforming the way that we talk and tell stories about nature? Okay, so I think that was perhaps enough. There was a little theory blast, and you're very welcome to ask more questions into this, but we would actually like to prioritize telling you a little bit about some of the methods that we have thought about presenting to you. So next time we'll talk about facilitation and how we create a learning journey or a learning flow. Today we present 3 methods that we thought this could help in thinking about how you're going to do your case. And please feel free to say, no, it doesn't help at all. We have other methods as well that we can talk about in the breakout rooms that may be more suited to your work. And we should say the way that this project has developed, Jesper and I are part of these masterclasses. Originally, we had thought that we could also be part of the ongoing journey for you guys. We will come to the conference, which will be in February.
Late January.
Late January. But we unfortunately at the moment don't have the resources to join you later on. But we will do our best to help framing this. And you're always welcome to write to us, or if you find the resources to invite us. But before we go into the methods, do you want to say a little bit about nature connectedness and how we think about regenerative learning?
Yes, thank you. Well, the word regenerative, I mean, I think we just need to look at it. It actually has a re in front and then generative, meaning that it's something which has to be relearned, rebuilt, reconstructed, and so on. So by we actually mean that it also reflects back to something which we could say had been lost. So therefore, I mean, when relearning, I mean, means to us that we need to relearn our relationship to nature, because I mean, back in history, when we were before industrialization and so on, we had a much more place-based life, much more in relation to nature. We were much more living as embedded in the natural surrounding, in the places where we were living. So we had to sort of relearn to regenerate some of the things which had been lost. And also, as we talked about before, we have also lost a common narrative. I mean, we don't have a common narrative today, so we must also relearn a new narrative on how to relate to nature, to each other, to we can recreate a sustainable future. So we see relearning as a process. Actually, it's a concept which was invented, you could say, mainly in relation to regenerative agriculture. But we take it much broader than just regenerating a living soil and regenerating the land. We see it more in that it's all our relations that we need to relearn. So the relearning is entering into a process of dialogue with the surroundings, where we don't have the exact answers, where we might lose control because we don't exactly know the outcome. It's an interactive process of learning together with other human beings, but also with the more than human world. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Liu raised a hand, so let's hear from. Do you want to say something?
Yes. I'm picking up on some things in the way you phrase things that I would like to ask you to explain. I picked up earlier that you said life is sacred, and I was thinking, well, sacred to who? By which process is life becoming sacred? And also, and that was earlier, but right now I picked up on the returning, the narrative of maybe a narrative about a more idyllic past where humans were more in sync with nature, less I don't know, not explorative, udnyttende.
Extractive.
Yeah, relationship with nature, which I think, first of all maybe isn't true, but I'm getting curious. Why is it important to phrase it as a returning to something?
Okay. Sure. Well, it's a really good question, Liu. Thank you for asking it. And some things it's also important to ask questions to the narratives you're listening to and that we have. So I'm just going to say two quick things, and then maybe Jesper wants to say something. The one thing is about sacredness. You asked about that. So this is, of course, because this is playing into how Jesper and I see the world. And you can say, so does this become religious or spiritual, or is there an aspect to the work we're doing that has to do with that? And I want to say yes, in a way, but it's not important to, I think, how we talk about nature as sacred. In this way, what it means is that nature has value in and of itself. It means that nature doesn't have value because human beings give it value. It means that the tree has value just because it's a tree. It's the treeness of the tree is a value that I, as a human being, should approach in this way. That it is inherent within the tree, if that makes sense. Does it? It's two different ways of value. Yeah. And the other thing was about return. And maybe you also speak to that, Jesper, but I just want to say this is something that we meet a lot, because in our Western framing, time is linear. And if we're saying that the past was better because we've lost knowledge, because things have been destroyed, then when we think about going ahead and we think the past is better, it's like a return, that we have to go back to how it was. But this is at least not, you can also say something about Jesper, but this is not actually what we mean about going back. It means working with what is broken. So in our view, the loss of connection with nature, the loss of knowledge of how we actually live on the land, the skills sets, those things we need to retrieve and recover, but it will never be the same context as it was. It will be I mean, time does flow onwards, so we can't return to a glorious past.
But maybe more of a spiraling. I know usually that's used in a different context, but
yeah, and definitely it's not any romantic dream of that everything in the past was better and that we have to return to some kind of past. But I mean, we must, the starting point from this whole discussion is that we realize that the path we are on, the narrative we are working on, this industrial extractive narrative, I mean, is leading us into a collapse. So there's something we need to relearn to find another path, and where we say that we have used the word sustainable and sustainability for a long time, but we realize that what we are doing now can never be sustained. It can never be sustainable. So, but the sustainability is our vision, but the regeneration is the path to become sustainable. I mean, we need to regenerate a living soil. We need to regenerate biodiversity. We need to relearn how to live in harmony or in a more better connection with nature to become sustainable and to have a different kind of future. So it's not a return, but a relearning. And just very short, we are also very inspired from some of the indigenous people who are living in different parts of the world and who have actually lived in a parallel evolution as the Western world without harming the environment. I mean, and they have had another narrative to guide their development. And we think that there's things we can learn and be inspired from there to find a new paradigm which is more suitable for us.
And we should probably also say that, of course, this is a very, we are aware that, you know, the whole paradigm of regeneration is a Western-centric concept. And it's also very interesting to us to hear how are you thinking about this and working with this in Lithuania, in Latvia. You have although we share a lot of cultural history, you also have a different cultural history, and it probably looks different for you. So just to land this part of the day, we would like to present 3 suggestions for methods you can use in your work. And I think, Jesper, we would probably have to do this in a pixie book manner. So we'll try and be brief and succinct so that we have time to be in the breakout rooms. The first one we want to introduce is called the Web of Life. It's a very simple but beautiful exercise. So it's basically, and all you need really is a piece of string. That's it. If you want to make it a bit more dramatic, you can add a pair of scissors. But what you do is basically you take your starting point in your local ecology or in your local nature where you are. And we also want to say this is, of course, can also be cities. So you can do this in any place. But the exercise is simply, there's a little bit of groundwork. You need to, of course, know what your ecology is like. And then you take your group and tell a little story around the place. And then you assign a role for each of the participants. So if I look outside the window here, and also we've walked around Mark Museum, so we know that we are right now in a place that has been farmed, it's been drained. There are some trees, there are fields, there are different keystone species here. So then we assign a role for each of those in the group. So it could be that one person is a field, one person is a stream, one person is a particular species that live here, a tree perhaps. Then there are some animals. Of course, we also need to have the soil. We need to have the sun. We need to have sunlight for something to grow, for life to be. We need to have rain and so on. And depending on the size of your group, you can usually, I mean, you probably need to be at least 7, 8 to make it work, but you can, it's actually quite funny when you are like a bigger group, if you're 20 or 30 even. And then you simply just ask each of the participants to say, okay, so you are sunlight. Who are you connected to? And then you throw the string to the person you're connected with. And in this way, you actually have a very physical sense of the connections that exist within this relation, or within this ecosystem. And what happens, of course, there are 2 main concepts here, or well, let's say one main concept here that is important from the ecology side, which is resilience. I'm sure that you're familiar with this concept, but resilience, if you have a higher resilience in an ecosystem, it means that you can withstand pressures from the outside. And if you get all the participants to tighten the web, you can feel that this is quite a strong relationship. And you can even, for drama, sometimes I bring a heavy book or a backpack and I put it on the web. And then you can see we have a lot of resilience. We can stand holding this. And then if you want to build the drama into the story, you can have the scissors and you can say, oh, so now a farmer comes along. and he wants to make a field. So he cuts down the tree, and then you cut the connection, the string between the tree and some of the others. And slowly the resilience, you can feel it physically, starts going down. And eventually the book or the rucksack or whatever will fall to the ground. And you can imagine how you can build your own story in your local area from this. And it gives people a sense of some of the key concepts of ecology, but also of the fundamental connectedness of all life. I think that's what I want to say to that one.
And actually, you talk about resilience of the web, but it's actually also very literally its carrying capacity you experience.
Yeah.
The more connections you have, the higher the carrying capacity is, and when you begin to cut, the carrying capacity actually goes down.
Yeah. And then we have the Council of All Beings.
Yeah. I will then talk a bit about the Council of All Beings. The reason it's called Council of All Beings and the reason we introduced this method is because normally all our councils, all our meetings, all our situations is only within human beings. I mean, we have human rights, we have a parliament, we have all kinds of forums where only human beings are represented. The Council of All Beings was actually, it was developed by two persons called John Seed and Joanna Macy. Joanna Macy fortunately died a few months ago, but it was inspired by the Haudenosaunee, the Six Nations in North America, among the Native Americans there, who when decisions were going to be made, which would involve, for example, the felling of some forest, then one of the persons were appointed to speak on behalf of the forest. If it would affect the river, a person would be appointed to speak on behalf of the river, so that the more than human voices were represented. But here we also work with it as how do we actually create this deeper connection with nature and sort of put ourselves in a position where we leave our anthropocentric position to be able to explore kinship and awareness from another perspective, from another being. And yes, we use it to cultivate our ability to empathize and identify with other beings and stretch our ability to see and feel what lies just beyond our human knowing. And how do we actually quiet our own voice? Because we only hear the human voice, and we are almost deaf to the other voices of the habitat we are part of. And this is a way to do that. And very, very briefly, I just will tell you that the way we do it is that we set the council around a fire in a nice setting. It can also be inside, it can actually be anywhere, but here we use an outside setting. And then the participants first are invited, according to how long time you have, it can be 15 minutes or half an hour or 2 hours, so to go out into the woods, into the surroundings, find a tree to sit down and try to find, cool your own voice and try to open up to find out what other being will you represent in the council. And then there's a human beings who then invites people back into the council, and when they come, they present themselves as the other being. And they are welcomed as they say, I'm the oak tree. And I say, welcome, oak tree, please take a seat. And then everybody comes in. And when you are in that setting, you are that other being. And then you begin to speak on behalf of that other being. And sometimes we also, as you can see on the picture, we also have time where people are actually trying to build or construct like a mask, which symbolizes the other being, but it's also a help, because sometimes people feel maybe a bit embarrassed to speak as another being, and therefore a mask can sometimes help to sort of that now we play. Now it's not ridiculous if you say something, because that's part of the game. And then we have this whole council where we discuss how is life on for the other beings, and they present that to the human who listens, and then we have this conversation in a room where the human are listening and where the more than humans are speaking. And that is very often a very, very powerful and touching exercise where people really feel deeply touched by it.
And so we can say that we thought this could be a key method, perhaps, in the project, because in our experience, it's very powerful, and it's a way to connect directly. We can talk about this in the breakout rooms. And here at the end, I have now 1.5 minutes to present the last method according to my time plan. So I'll try and be brief. But we also have an exercise called the 7th generation, and this is also from the work that reconnects and the community around Joanna Macy, and it's basically establishing a cross-generational conversation between the present generation and then an imagined 7th generation. We are now 200 years down the future, where you create 2 circles, one with the present generation and one with the future generation. And then you sort of create, I like to talk about it as a time machine. You do a little walking around in a circle, and you are now arrived where in this interdimensional space where these 2 generations can talk to each other. And we have some questions that you then ask. And all the participants need to do is basically answer the question from the perspective either of the present or the future. And this we've also found to be a very powerful method of getting reflections, not just on all of the difficult things and the trouble we're in, but actually how is it going to resolve? How do we make it? How do we make it 200 years down the line? So this is.
Try and give an example of one of the questions.
Yeah, it has to be really brief.
Yeah, can you do?
I don't have the questions here.
No, but one of the questions is that the future generation asked the present generation, what was it that actually changed in your generation so that we can still live here 200 years from now? I mean, what was it which was the turning point?
Yeah, so this gets the imagination going in terms of how we actually are going to preserve some of the things that we need for the future. Right, I think I made it almost. Yeah, 10:30. Okay, so as I said earlier, these are examples of some of the methods we use and think could be helpful to you. We're totally open to, you can choose them if you want to, and we are happy to help you actually applying them. And we will put a little bit more detailed information into like some sort of information pack. But in the next part now is thought in the way that we hear the presentations from the different groups. The what is it called? Opleg. In the framing, we asked you to see if you can present your case in 7 minutes. And we know this is not very long, but maybe you can think about it as it's an introduction. And then in the breakout rooms, we can go into more detail. And Katarina, you have a...
Yes, we have technical question about these presentations. Our team decided, being practical, that it will be one case on which we focus from different angles, answering the list of questions which was forwarded us. So it will be one presentation, but museum starts, Les Mickes continues, and then Save the Children also finishes. So
Yes.
how we are going to count so 7 minutes per Lithuanian team then, right? So it will be like 2.5 minutes. Or did you keep in mind that each of us is going to present a presentation for 7 minutes? Because we can go either way. We have a lot of, our teams,
Right.
yeah, people have many materials to present, so we can do it.
Yeah, so we actually thought it was 7 minutes for all the partners in Lithuania and
good.
all of the partners. So it'll be, we know that we are asking you to create really like a extract of the condensed version. But then in the breakout room, we'll have more time
to explore.
Yeah. And the way that we've pulled it into this presentation we have here is actually that Mark is first, and then there was did you and the Lithuanian partners, did you want to go last, or is that not relevant any longer?
I think it's the same. Fabio, is it okay with you? And Agnia, is it okay with you to be second?
Yes, that's okay.
Okay, Agnia, what about you?
It's fine, yeah.
Okay, good. So we could be second once.
I will speak very briefly, because if we have 7 minutes all together, I'll skip my presentation. I'll just say very, very concisely what I want to say.
I have a whole presentation as well with slides and everything.
Yeah, we can also be short. So I think we will manage to do it in 7 minutes as a team.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, this first presentation is only to get a brief understanding of the cases from each country, because we can dive much more into exploring them in the breakout rooms.
Okay, so shall we? So I think you are also able to share your screens, but we have put what you sent to us into the main presentation here. We have the ability also to share screen. I can, or you guys can use my computer to click through yours if you want. We see here is the first one. You can just use the area.
Yes, so in Denmark's case, in Mark Museum's case, we chose Grindstedværket, the factory that we just touched upon briefly also in the first masterclass. We kind of put up or designed our slides from the questions that we forward to all of us. So it's heritage, landscape, and ecology that we asked of all of us to think about when we are going to present our case. And if you take just really quickly, Grindstedværket has played an important role in Danish industrial history altogether, and today is one of the world's leading suppliers of functional additives for the food industry. But it was established in 1924, where it produced chemicals for explosive, and then medicine and later on vitamins became the factory's main production. And this is where, and during this period, the Grindstedværket, the factory, became the largest workplace in Grindsted. And it's also from the production of medicine and vitamins that caused the extensive pollution of both soil, groundwater, and surface water in the area. And it's situated here, as you can see in the background picture as well, in the city in the back. That's where the factory is, and we're situated here among many different cultural landscapes. There are non-existent pure nature, if you can say that, in Denmark. Most of Denmark, but not at all in Billund municipality. Agriculture is the predominant profession, and the area here consists mostly of fields. And here where Mark Museum is situated, we have meadows, we have the stream, we have plantation, we have heath, we have fields as well. And if I forget anything, Maya, you just jump in.
I think we got it.
Ecology, maybe we can dive deeper into that in the breakout room, because that was quite difficult for us actually too. But the soil here mainly consists of sand, and that's an important factor, because that means that pollution just spreads even more than if the soil was contained of clay. And the pollution, and that's why we put it in the ecology, because it's everywhere out here. It's in the soil, it's in the surface water, it's in the groundwater, and it contains of mercury, cyanide, and chlorinated solvents. So it's a big deal. Yeah. Then we were asked to say what kind of different narratives do we have around our case, and we tried to put some up in these talking bubbles. I don't know what it's called in English. So there's a narrative about who's going to pay, because this is quite expensive to clean up this pollution. So it is the state's problem? Is it the municipality? Is it the region? Who's going to pay for this? Then we have the private citizens, you might say. I have a private well and nobody's going to tell me not to use it. And on the other side, just his neighbor is forbidden to use his private well because there's too much contaminated water and pollution there. So there's this very local narrative. Then there's a narrative about nobody listens to us. That's typically children or the young people who doesn't have a voice or feels like they don't have a voice. Then we have a narrative about my brother proudly worked at the factory because it was a big deal. Many people worked at the factory and they were proud of it, and it gave food on the table. It was a job, and they were proud of the factory as well, because it was the world's leading and still is in knowledge and exports of the things I just listed up before. Then there's a narrative about if we keep talking about it, prices of our houses will decline. So stop talking about this and create a happier narrative for the city, because then we can sell our houses and then people will move to the municipality. And right aside that, there's a narrative that we become sick and we die because of it. There are diseases here, ALS, which is a nerval disease. There are cancer diseases, there are fetus diseases that some say is because of the pollution. And then there's your neighbor that's just said, I've bathed in that stream all my life and I'm as healthy as an ox. Nothing ever happened to me. So what are you crying about? And it's not our responsibility. So which is the factory responsible? Is the main narrative that humans were larger than nature at one point? Is that the responsibility of it? Did we know what we were doing and why did we keep on doing it and stuff like that? And this is what we want to dive much deeper in my case, at least into in the breakout rooms, is because we try to give the stream a narrative. So what if the stream had a voice? It's kind of like the Council of All Beings, maybe. Where me and Mike just tried to play along with that sense. And it was like, so this is the voice of the stream. I wish I could once again coexist with humans, so it could have dreams as well, the streams, just like humans have dreams. You always used me for your own benefits. It has a history. I know I'm no longer able to give my inhabitants a safe place to live, so it can be sad or depressed. It has feelings. I long for being clean again. I'm so sorry that I carry the pollution with me to other areas and species, so it can have guilt as well. I feel imbalanced, so, and many, many more, perhaps. Yeah. Did we make it within the 7-minute time?
Yes.
Yes, great. That was Mark's case, what we are going to work with later on in the masterclasses and in the work in the co-creation workshops in the springs.
Thank you very much. So then, Lithuania partners, are you okay to present your case now? And do you want to share your screen? Is that easiest, or shall I? We've put your presentation into
I think we will share. We will share because it's several presentations, like 3 organizations in one by one. So it's Agnia will start, and Agnia, can you share your screen via Zoom?
Let's see if I can.
Yeah, in Zoom it's much more easier than in other programs, so it's a good thing. So I will just make short introduction while Agni is searching for this technical thing. We were thinking that we should start from the location where the museum is situated, Markučiai Manor Museum, which is represented today by Agnia. And then we started going into the question of what are the challenges and what are also the resources of the museum which could be activated and used during the ecology-focused program for kids and young people. So our starting point was not some ecological problem in the city or in the district itself, although we have one, because there is a rapid redevelopment process now happening in Vilnius, and we have vast territories which are being just redeveloped, and the new houses are coming, but also lots of greenery are being lost. But we didn't focus on this bigger context, but just on the surrounding of museum and museum itself. So Agni will start.
Okay, so I will sort of present first the museum, sort of the branch of the museum that I'm working for, which is Markučiai Manor. And Markučiai Manor is actually a wooden Swiss villa that was built in the suburbs at that time of Vilnius in 1867 by...
Do you want to make your presentation large? If you share, if you make it like in presentation mode, then it fills the whole...
I did.
Press
that
that
one.
one. That one. Yeah.
Okay.
If you press that button down there.
Yeah.
No, I know, I did, but can't you see it?
Okay. Okay. Well, it's fine. We can see it. Yeah.
No problem.
No problem.
Okay.
Sorry.
On my screen, I can see it. Yeah, so it was built by a family of a railway engineer from Russia, because at that time the land in the territory of Lithuania was much more affordable than in Russia as well. We were well, part of the Russian Empire at the time, because directly we were occupied by them. And that's how the family arrived to Vilnius and built this villa, which at the time was very modern and had all the pleasures that other families might have not had. So our museum is surrounded by a 19th century park, which within a century transformed into a forest, and a variety of tree species can be found and recognized there. As a museum, we maintain a good relationship with local communities of various cultural backgrounds and identities. But this relationship between our museum and the communities haven't really explored its natural spaces, local flora, like the natural habitats, and really haven't addressed any environmental issues. So this is just a brief image for you to see how Markučiai Manor looks like. It's a wooden Swiss villa surrounded by a lot of trees. Here you can't see the forest, but it's there.
Agni,
So
we do not see the new slides. Agni, can you switch the slides, because we see the same slide frozen.
Okay.
You can switch to
I was.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
We're on slide 4 now.
Indeed, just to show you how it looks. And our team, we have like a very small team in this specific branch of the Vilnius City Museum, and we have several educators, a person responsible for communication, a curator, and an events curator as well. And then we do guided tours, educational activities, workshops, exhibitions. We're part of the open house, a museum night, which happens every year, and European Heritage Days. And many of the interior is authentic, not all of it, let's be realistic. So we have 19th century and 20th century furniture, which was brought from Italy, Russia, and some of them were made by local Lithuanian craftsmen from oak. All of this belonged to the Melnikov family, but as well later on, Varvara Melnikova, she married the youngest son of Alexander Pushkin, and they lived there together. And just for you as an example, this is the oak furniture that was made in Vilnius by Lithuanian craftsmen, and from what we know, the oak is as well from the territory of Lithuania. And this is the interior inside our museum. This is a Dutch furnace on the right that you can see, which was made as well in Lithuania, but it's just in the Dutch style. Still interior, and sustainability, there's very little to say because the museum hasn't been working with sustainability. The museum is surrounded by a wonderful recreational area close to the old town, but it still feels like a distant forest. And we conduct tours with arborists and ornithologists. We plan to continue this practice and discover more about our sort of diverse environment that we are in. And very close to, well, we're surrounded by all of this. So we have man-made ponds that were dug, presumably for fish and fishing. And hopefully we can explore and really dig into what it has more to offer. Plenty of activities that we do, and we really are in ties with local communities and doing a lot of research because they are of different backgrounds. They are Russian speaking, the diaspora that I'm talking about, and really to delve in and understand our identity within the neighborhoods that we live. We are having a restoration of our manor, and it will take many years. And we have little recreational like area for mindfulness, physical and emotional health. And this is how employees spend their time in summer. It's all green around. And yeah, that's a very brief just about us as a museum in the middle of a forest.
Agni, can you stop sharing? Then I will switch very quickly to a couple of slides.
Yeah, so the 7 minutes are actually up, but just go ahead with your slides as well, Ekaterina. We need to also hear from you.
Yeah, so do you see my slide at this moment? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, because I do not see anything now, it's very strange. But okay, so do you see when I switch them somehow or no?
No.
Okay, so I'll just, without the presentation itself, I will just, maybe now you will see it, right? Do you see now when I switch? Okay.
Yeah.
So we were drawing on the resources of the museum, and we understood that one of the main focuses we could draw upon is this connection between natural environment and sustainable interiors. And the issue we want to raise is that in Lithuanian cities, due to the historical context, the typical households' interior materials and objects rarely last more than 2 or 3, maximum 5 decades. There is always this need for renewal. You know, it's this craving for renewal. Now it's called Euro repair, but also during Soviet periods, also people were inclined to buy new things and get rid of these historical items due also to the historical context. And now it's led us to this irresponsible consumption and distorted understanding of what nice interior is and tidy environment is. So the issue is this lost connectedness to the craftsmanship and to the materials which are used, natural materials that are used. It's not that much nature-centric approach what we propose. We still propose to kids and youngsters to focus on their own home interiors and to work on the questions: what is the oldest item in my interior, who made it, where it came from, and to navigate the history of the interiors of their own houses, but on the base of this 19th and the beginning of 20th century materials and interior which were preserved in Markučiai. And then we want to build an interlink between this natural surrounding park, where a lot of materials and pigments and moss and so on and wood is, and to bring this understanding of that our interiors needs the resources. So how much resources do we need for renewal of our interiors and for new items? So that's the issue which we seek to tackle, or one of the ideas we want to draw upon. So it's mostly based on this sustainable consumption and sustainability in terms of your own home surrounding, which is explored through the resources which the museum has. So that's basically all from Limiki's part. And maybe Fabio will add.
Fabio, do you want to also say something?
I think I can leave maybe for the breakout rooms, because since we're already over time, what I wanted to add is mostly on a practical level, on where to find the children to participate in the activities. So maybe is the least interesting part of the whole thing.
But the most important.
quite important indeed. But we'll leave it for the breakout so we can save some time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Oh, very interesting. So the Latvia group, how do we do with your...
I will share presentation, and then I will mainly explain everything, and maybe Andrea will add something. So do you see my presentation?
No.
Yeah, we see. Now we see.
Okay. So about our museum, it's located. I will tell about the context. So our museum is completely in the countryside. The closest city is 16 kilometers from us, and we around us there are only farms and forests and landscape, like fields. And the museum itself, it's 4.5 hectares of land, 5 buildings, and all our 5 buildings are national historical monument of a 19th century farm. And we have around 8,000 items in our collection, and we are mainly working like seasonal museum. We work from May till October, and our main target audience is youngsters. And and the landscape is fields, forests, and farms around us. And the biggest part of our heritage is poetry, because we are poets museum. So mainly we work with his heritage, but now also with this project we are planning to start to look the direction of the 19th century farm. So but that will be something new for us. And we did our homework in very last moment, so we don't have very clear idea about our case and about the direction where we want to go. The one direction we could possibly work with is Edward Veidenbaum's personality and his heritage, and how to use like literature and how to mix literature, art, mental health, and our landscape and nature. And we already have some kind of experience in that because we are hosting different kind of art and mental health and literature and nature-based projects and activities. And so that could be one of the directions where we could go. And then the other direction where we think we could go is this 9th century agriculture, and to compare how the farms around us are working now and how they are affecting our landscape and nature, and how maybe in the 19th century they were working in a farm, and how their way of living and working was I don't know, affecting the nature around, and to compare and to see which practices are more sustainable and which are less. And yeah, some more pictures from our museum. Now we are hosting temporary art exhibition, and also the topic is about sustainability and how our ways of life is affecting the nature around us, and how nature is affecting our ways of life and making art as well. And we are also looking to two different directions when we think about the target group of this project. Maybe one direction is our museum youth group, what we already have. It's youngsters from 13 till 25 years old. Or we took your idea from one of the meetings with Mai. You amazed your idea about the museum class, and last week, and we announced this offer that we are looking for museum class to adopt. So we are thinking that maybe we can work with this museum class and start the relationship with them through this project, through this perspective. And yeah, that's it. I thought everything. But yes,
I'm so sorry to interrupt the timeline, but I need to know what's going on in the bathtub with the young people on a photo shared by. But can you elaborate on that picture where there were some people in a bathtub outside with clay?
That was from the we have our own art and literature music festival what our youngsters are organizing, and one of the performances, or I don't know, activities, this is like nature playground. We have clay bath, and we are inviting all the participants just to lay in a clay bath and enjoy and to connect with nature and themselves in the playing in a mud and playing in the clay. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
That's great. That's really cool.
We need your methodology, this method in Lithuania, because we have a lot of clay also, which is not used. Yes.
Yeah, we can share.
Well, it sounds like there's also, I mean, we've talked about some methods, but you already are doing so many things, and it's really interesting to hear, you know, with both the literary ambition of the museum, but also the way that you are already doing stuff with the arts. That's great. So let's now split into the idea here is, first of all, that we try and split the case groups so that we have people from all three countries in two separate groups. And then here we have and I think we're gonna have to say maybe 25 minutes to have a cross-fertilization, some of the questions, some of the ideas that came up. Jesper and I will be in each room, and I think also Mai and Anna-Louise are also in each room to maybe something around co-creation will also come up. And then we'll take it from there and have a little break afterwards. Oh.
Okay. You all back now? Then let's begin.
Should we say hi to Maria?
Yeah, Maria, you're a new participant. Maybe just a brief introduction.
Hello, I'm from Vilnius, from Markučiai Manor Museum, and I'm here to support our Agne. So I'm just listening.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, from the break. We have about 45 minutes together now. We just talked a little bit here in the break about just revisiting the framing of both of what we want to do today, but also what we want to do in the larger scheme of things. And Louisa just wanted to make a point on this.
Yes, because we touched upon it in our breakout session, and it's about the workshops and the case that we're gonna have together with the young people in the workshops. But just to point out that the designing of the co-creation workshops in the springtime is not what we're trying to do now. Now we're trying to deep into each country's case. How can this case be designed with the methods presented by Earthways and with the co-creation thoughts from Mark in the last masterclass, and to point out that these are not finished methods. We can tailor them to each case, to each country, so that they suit us, our point of view, and then leave the what can you say, the co-creation workshop. How many times are we going to invite young people into co-create? What's the duration? For how long time? What we're going to talk about? How we're going to facilitate the workshops in the spring? We're going to talk about that in masterclass number 3. So in this second half, and where we're going to continue in plenary and in the breakout rooms, let's concentrate on our cases, so that we can help each other become even more sharpened on that. Does that make sense, everyone? Yes, I see no shaking heads. I see nodding heads. Okay, good.
Okay, so I just wanted to follow up also on some things that came up in the breakout room where I was part. So these methods are suggestions. So please take them and make them yours. You don't have to make. I don't think there is such a thing like a classical council of all beings. It's simply how you make it. So grab from it what you can and make it yours. So we will, from Earthways, we will make a description and also send you some links to examples of how you can do it. And then please play with it and make it relevant in your case. The point here is that you guys are, you work with and are experts in cultural history. And we are curious what happens when we add another layer here to the, I don't want to call it the natural history, but the more than human world. And we had some really interesting observations in the breakout room where I was, what happens when and you also are familiar with this when the objects start to speak, right? So if you have a piece of furniture, what is the materials it is made of? What is the history and so on? All of a sudden, we reach deeper or more layers, and we would like to invite you also to think of the more than human voices that are present in the what you're working with. So for the next little while, up until around 12 o'clock, we'll see how many questions there are, but we'd like to invite you to think about or to ask us also, more about your case. How can you frame it, or what is the frame already? Are there some aspects of the story or the narrative framing that you would like to delve into or open up, ask questions about? And what is the role here of the more than human world? And maybe we can talk about this. What are the values involved and so on. So this is an open floor now, and you're welcome to bob in with whatever questions or thoughts you have around framing the narrative framing of your case, and we'll see if we can help each other to make it specific to what you're working with. And then after this part, we'll go back into the case groups, and then we can start delving into the specific cases.
I have a question from Mark's point of view, because when we co-create, it's quite important for us to create this safe room, this talk of ethics that I held the last masterclass, that everyone we invite in, we want to share a purpose with them. We want to share that we are equals, sitting around a round table and not somebody at the end of the table with more authority. So if we were to tap in the Council of Beings method, then it could be interesting to have in the co-creation process a time with the young people where we get acquainted with each other, that we have this common understanding, this common ground. And if we create roles for each other, I think my question is how many beings are there, or can there be? Can the pollution be a being in itself? When we talk about the stream, where the pollution is, here is the stream enough, or is the inhabitants in the stream a being as well? Do you understand the layer of?
Yeah. Well, in principle, the beings can be anyone who lives there, and the pollution is also part of it. So
you can have
the
young people choose their own beings as for who they feel is most relevant.
Yeah, that's the idea, is that there's it's a phase of the method as we use it, is that each person chooses their own being. So you can give them examples and ideas, but you actually go yourself and create a reflective space where you connect with, maybe someone connects with the pollution or the river or the frogs, and then they get into it in this way. And I think this is important, that they choose it themselves, because then you have a more personal connection rather than saying like you have to speak for the hour.
Yeah, but we can have, but in terms of controlling the co-creation process, we can have outlined some roles beforehand to help to get them started, get them thinking. And at the ethical point of view, because when you talked about masks and how that actually can help you enter a role as an oak tree or as a fish or as a pollution, then getting acquainted at the ethical point of view, where we're creating a safe space for the young people to join us, then we could, at the first time that we meet, maybe have them make their own masks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that would, so I just want to say that I'm someone who, like, when I did the mask thing the first time, I felt a little bit outside of my comfort zone, and I wasn't sure like how it was going to go, but you're in a workshop, so you go along with it, and it actually really developed and it grew very quickly on me. I'm not saying it's like that for everyone, but it didn't feel as difficult as I thought it would. And as soon as you have a connection to, I was a rhinoceros. As soon as I had the connection and I was working with the mask, the story started coming out as well. So that was quite interesting. What happens when you interact? I'm sure you know more about this than I do, but what happens when you interact with materiality and how then the story comes?
But as we also have discussed already, that I mean, you can tailor a council of all beings in different ways according to your context and your situation. I mean, as we talk about it here, I think it gives meaning if it's situated in your locality, meaning that you sort of try to identify what are the main species, what are the main elements in your area. For example, like Eva says that he's a rhinoceros. I guess there's no rhinoceros in Latvia or in Lithuania. So that is a different kind of council where we more speak about the situation with threatened species or the whole global situation. Yeah.
Liv has raised her hand.
Yeah, I had some reflections about agency and if ethically agency maybe. I had the thought of what if the river in our local area doesn't want to be purified? What if the pollution makes it feel powerful and it mainly wants to penetrate as much ground as it possibly can? So more like a super evil agency.
Yeah.
So I was playing around with that thought and thought that there's also some ethical discussions in how we facilitate.
Yeah, and of course, none of us can speak on behalf of another species. I mean, for sure we can't, but it's a way of trying to illustrate and make sensible that we share this habitat with many other species. And so I think it's mainly for that being aware that we are not the only species who are meant to affect this habitat or live here. Yeah.
But it's an interesting question, Leo, because and we can discuss that in Mark's breakout room because we don't have to choose the council of beings, but we could definitely play along with the one species as a one being, which is the river, the stream. And what if you have different narratives, different roles, but you all talk from the same being's point of view? So you have the evil stream, the crook, or you have the guilty stream or the depressed stream, or so we could we could tailor it the way that
assign different motivations.
Yeah, and narratives as we touched about.
Yeah, and I've never encountered like an evil species in the council, but it could be. It's an interesting question, and we have had plastic showing up, for example, and plastic is here, and it's part of our world, and it's also polluting our environment and our bodies and everything. But it's interesting what happens when you connect, and I almost want to say, and now we're maybe touching on our view on the world, but if you really go and sit with a river and try to connect with it, it can tell you something. It's not just that you are just projecting yourself on it. It is also actually, maybe you can hear a whisper. Yeah.
But my thought process was thinking about osmosis, that and how water normally wants to spread out equally. So I was thinking, well, what if that's the core agency of the river, that it wants to spread, and it doesn't care if it's polluted.
If it's a pollution, yeah. It's a really good question. Yeah, and as I think it goes for this method, like we also work in a co-creative manner, so we never know what will happen, and we are, as educators, we have to just catch it and go with it and try and I think that's why the ethical considerations are important to do beforehand. Because when you're in the moment and there is someone showing up like an evil river, there's no answer to how you can catch it or what you do with it. But you can always weave it into the larger conversation.
Yeah, and I think maybe as a facilitator, if I was the facilitator and someone wanted to be the evil river, I would say, okay, you had these motivations and intentions. How does that affect every other species around you that you want to spread as much as possible?
It's a very good point.
But in the breakout rooms, we should concentrate on our cases and how can we implement some of nature's point of view in a cultural history setting. And the facilitation and the design of the entire workshops where we co-create in the spring, we're going to touch upon that on Masterclass number 3. So keep that in mind when you go out in the breakout rooms.
And I think it's soon time to do that. Are there any questions?
Just a short comment. I mean, nature is neither good or bad, either evil or not evil. I mean, that is something we project into it. So I mean, it's all, to me, it's more, as I said before, it's a way of understanding that we are part of a bigger web of life. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ekaterina also had something to say?
Yes, we just try to understand, will it be enough for the workshop to draw upon these Council of All Beings methods, developing some aspects of it, because we were, you know, we have to settle our timeline and resources. And we understand that coming with this method around furniture, we as laymakers will definitely do it at some point. But in conditions of this project, I think if it's possible, just to then to implement this nature exploration as a direction, and to. Is it enough to run workshop on the base of this Council of All Beings methods then? Because it will.
The short answer will be yes. That is enough. But when you join the breakout room where you're gonna be in your own case country, talk about how can you disseminate this? How can you tailor this into your situated, located museum, your case? How will you use this? Do you need to then have the young people come out twice or 3 times, or do you need to have to meet beforehand and make masks? As I said, it doesn't have to be that. And do you need to have a workshop where they come and join you for the Council of Beings? And how is that going to be? Are you going to make the beings beforehand to control the process, or is it going to be more free? Tailor it to your case, to your museum when you go out in the breakout rooms.
But we also talked a little bit about in the pause here that a voice in a council of all being could also be a voice from the 18th century or further back. I mean, a historical voice. Yeah. So it does not only have to be like living beings, and it could also be a future living human.
So to make time for the breakout rooms, we just have a brief question or comment from Liv, and then in 2 minutes we'll go into breakout rooms for 15 minutes, and then we have 10 minutes to round off together in the end. But Liv, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to share a similar thought I had, that the cross-generation conversation, like an alternation of it could be back in time. So 7 generations past in the past, would also be helpful.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that next time, masterclass number 3, we're gonna design how the co-creation workshops are gonna be with the young people and how we're gonna facilitate them.
Great, thank you. So now we're in the case groups for 15 minutes, and Jesper and I will join. We'll join the groups. We'll sort of circulate a bit, and you can use us if you need us, and we're there. Everyone, can you hear us again? Yeah, I think I'm unmuted. Okay, so welcome back in the plenary. We are now in the last 5 minutes, so we're just going to round off for today. We hope that you got a little bit further in each of your country groups, and so where we are landing today is we want to basically so now we've started out with looking at co-creation as an approach. And today we've looked at a bit of theory and methods of nature-based education. And what we want to do is next time we want to merge these two. And the homework, so to say, for next time is going to be to get a little bit more specific around designing the spring workshops. And this we're going to use as the basis of talking about how we do this next time. So next time will be about facilitation. Is there something we will send out the homework in the next during this week.
Yes.
Then we will ask you, like today, also next time to share a little bit about this, and then we're gonna get more concrete and work out some of the details. Because, for example, what happened in the group I joined was I felt like it very quickly got concrete when Fabio could say, "Oh, we're working with this age group of kids," and then we could very quickly start getting more specific.
But we will also share a more detailed description of each method.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is it for today. Any last questions or any questions to what will happen between now and next time? Then now is the time. You can also write an email, of course. Anything you want to add, Anna-Louisa and Mike?
We will send out the homework assignment, and you will send out some more descriptive details of the methods presented here today. And remember that we also have we sent out the slides from the first?
Yes.
We've already done that. Yes.
Yeah.
And again, if you have any questions along the way before presenting your homework masterclass number 3, please feel free to write to all of us so that we can help you as much as we can.
Yes. And you, Katarina, you have a question or
just a short
comment?
question, again, technical one, just to be sure, because when we start going into deep and into details with the method, also need to know, are there some resources to make some pre-design of the workshop, because anyway we will need some input maybe of coming ecologist or arborist to pay the hours for the expert, or we have to maybe pre-design some cards, you know, some to get some materials for the workshop. So we need to know if there is possibility to, you know, to provide these resources for the workshops, and then we can be more precise in what we can do, because we can do it in a super cheap way without any materials and without any experts, which would be horrible actually. Or we can go, you know, into, I think that for museums it's also a fantastic possibility to cooperate with experts. I see that Biba also supports this idea, so yes, Biba, thank you.
There
Yes.
are some economical possibilities in the budget, as I remember it, but how much for each partner? Me and Mai will check that, and we will write to you, all of you case partners, so that you know what kind of framework you have for the economy for the workshops.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well then I think all that's left to say is thank you for today. Yeah, it's been good to get a bit more information around your cases, and we look forward to continuing the work next time.
Thank you. And it was interesting to think about Evil River, which was brought by Liv. It was very interesting insights which we got today.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.